Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. I have to say this. When it comes to things that we experience, what I experience in a situation is different than what you're feeling and the other person and you. But we take it for granted. We just assume that they're feeling the same way, understanding it the same way. We're going to look at that today and so much more. And she gives so much insight. Every time we get together with her, she has helped so many people in many different ways, individuals, couples, families, through effective therapy. And so great to have her back with us. Susie Engel is on the program. And I love when we get together because I never know where we're going to go. Like we just get in the car. We know we're going in, let's say, the north direction, but then we don't know where it's going to go. So we're starting today with experiences. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, Steve?
Fantastic, Susie. And
yeah, good.
It is interesting, where we take it for granted that what we're feeling, we assume others are feeling the same thing. And I'm sure that comes up when you work with people where they're describing a situation with maybe a partner, maybe a friend, family member. And I'm sure you probably have to hit the reset button. Oh, did you look at it through their eyes? Does that happen a lot?
Yes, it happens all the time. And it happens in different ways. And I'm really excited for us to just begin this conversation, and who knows. And I like that that our conversations have a flexibility because nothing is just linear. Nothing has to stick with the program. And it's good for people to know we're not ADHD because we go in this direction in a conversation or that direction. So I just love that about our interactions. But I will say, a blatant example of that is I did have a client who, it was a woman who had a series or a pattern of poor relationships with men. And they were poor relationships with men. But her assumption was that all men were narcissistic, misogynistic, abusive in one way or another. But really the big ones were narcissistic and misogynistic. And, I helped her kind of look at some of the roots of this paradigm for herself and why she was even unconsciously attracted to these men, because that's what does happen. Unconsciously, we are like magnets and are attracted to a certain type of people for a certain type of way because of a certain reason.
There's always a reason behind it. And isn't that reason more often than not going back to your childhood?
Yes, absolutely. Every time.
All right.
And it's not to be cliche, and it's not to find blame. It's just to understand that because we had our childhood, we adapted. I adapted the way Susan Engel, the way Susie adapted. You, Steve, you adapted the way you adapted. And to get aware of that is the key to making a future of evolution and organic growth and all sorts of things. But this woman really assumed that all men were like that. And I said to her, isn't it interesting that in my realm, I have never even met a man like that or been involved with a man like that, whether it's an intimate relationship in terms of a romantic relationship or whether it's a friendship with a man or a boy. I've never, like in my world, that has never occurred. And she could not believe that I could have a different perspective of men, including my family. There are no men like the men she's involved with. So that's just an example of how people, and we have to be open-minded that our experience isn't a vacuum, doesn't occur in a vacuum and doesn't define all people. That's a problem.
Well, I talk to most of my male friends all the time. Women are crazy. That's all I hear all the time. They're crazy. I'm not going to say that.
I'm good crazy.
Good crazy, right? I'm going to say it. There are some that, are
Yes, reactive, little cray
a
cray.
little out there. Yeah, but not all. Question for you. So you say that you've never met any men that have the characteristics that somebody you worked with, narcissist. And what's the other word you said? I'm trying to remember it. Miss, hygiene.
Misogynist, like men who or people who just have a problem with women, and it's like an underlying hatred of women.
Okay.
It usually goes back to childhood, like some sort of attachment problems.
And,
Mommy,
and, and
yeah,
quite honestly, I know somebody who is like that and might not admit it, but when you hear them talk, you hear it. And anyway,
yeah.
I'll put to the side. I know what you're
It's
saying.
very common. I mean, you can listen to people all over the place and pick up
Mm,
on it.
I
Yeah.
gotcha. So my question, you've never met anybody like that. Is it possible that you didn't bring that out in them, but the person that you're referring to has? Like they have that, she brings out the best in me. He brings out the worst in me. That kind of thing. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I think it's a possibility in the sense that we're talking about relationships, and you and I, we have a brief discussion before every podcast, so we touched upon this too. Is it's an interaction. So what's the chemical interaction? What's the, I think of it as it's a nervous system to nervous system interaction. Am I in stress response, or am I comfortable with myself so the other person doesn't have to get into stress response and be defensive? Am I open-minded, or am I condescending and judgmental? And does the other person get defensive and have to react to whatever his or her experience is? So yeah, I think that that's a possibility. It's not about blaming. It's just the fact of the matter is we're always interacting.
Hmm.
And I think it's nervous system to nervous system. And if my nervous system is regulated and I'm feeling kind of good about myself and living my life, I'm not going to, um, but maybe that's a trigger for somebody. Maybe
Hmm.
that would annoy somebody. Like, who is she to be so happy in life, or whatever that might be? I mean, we could think of 1,000 scenarios.
Well, here's a good one here too. Um, People may look at you, loving life, everything's great, and think, well, yeah, she's hiding something. There's no way that she could be that happy. I'm going to give you a real time example. So I'm stuck on a song and I'm in a men's group and I put it out there, like some of the lyrics. And the song, you probably don't even know it. I'm stuck on the guitar riff. It's just like, I just love it. And then that's what hooked me first. Then I started looking at the lyrics, and basically the lyrics are moving on. I'm moving on my journey. The song is called Where the River Flows. Band is Collective Soul. Came out in the 90s. So, I like the analogy of the river. It's going to take you. And there's one line in the song and I shared it with the group, and the line is, pain is a poison I digest. And we share different things. I think that might be impactful for somebody. And we're always trying to move forward in this group. Um, yeah, pain is a poison I digest. You're feeling some pain, beat it up and move on. That's what I'm getting from that lyric. So I put that in our group. We
I
have a
like that.
separate section where we just share things, memes and stuff like that. I'm like, check this song out. Like the guitar rocks everything. One of the men in the group, is everything okay? He writes back. I'm like, everything's fantastic. Like I was at the gym. I was doing chest. I listened to it 10 times. It just pumped me up. Like, yeah, this is a good song. Yeah, blank pain. Moving on. We all feel it from time to time, whatever it is. But I see it as an uplifting song. He saw it as a cry maybe for help.
I
and
don't know. Yeah.
but
I
it goes
mean,
back
but,
to
but you
experiences.
asked, you started this and brought up the song and the lyrics, and the guitar moved you. The guitar, I mean, music is just incredible, in that fashion. But, just because I cope the way I cope and I am content in my life or fulfilled in my life, it doesn't mean it doesn't come without problems. It doesn't come without struggles. It doesn't come without stressors. The key is, how am I going to handle my stressors? How am I going to handle my stress? How am I going to handle my attitude toward things? So if it's a trigger that somebody is, content in their life or happy in their life, that's about the other person. But it doesn't mean that my life isn't without problems. Everybody's got stuff. Every family has stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know,
Every relationship, even if I don't know a misogynistic narcissist, it doesn't mean that the relationship doesn't have struggles. And that's okay, because we grow from struggles
we grow
usually.
100%. And that's what life is about. If everything was just steady, you wouldn't know happiness, you wouldn't know joy, you wouldn't know pain, you wouldn't know sorrow, because
And it's also not life. That isn't life. That's just some sort of other existence. And the thing I say is, on my desk behind me, there's a porcelain. It was given to me as a birthday gift. It's a Buddha cow. It's a cow kind of meditating with a Asian robe, and it's a Buddha cow meditating. And I always point to it, and I tell clients to bring this point to the surface. If that porcelain were to break, we would super glue it. And where the break is actually the strongest part, because the rest is still porcelain. The rest is still fragile. But where the break, where the hardship came, and the mending came, and the repair comes the strength. It becomes the strongest part of that porcelain Buddha cow.
isn't that it's a big thing. There's a name for it. I can't think of what the name is, but I think even in Chinese cultures, Asian cultures, that's a big thing. And a friend of mine, back to music, friend of mine,
Yeah.
locally sings, performs. He put out an album, it must be 20 years ago, but this song, I never forgot these lyrics. The core is still the same, but there's a few more cracks there in my shell. And it sounds exactly what you're saying.
Yes.
We're the same people deep inside, but as you get to the outer, shell of us, we got some cracks going through life in general, childhood, all of that.
Yeah, that's what builds us. That's
Yes.
what fortifies us.
Yep.
It's what we tap into, drive or motivation or repair or resilience. It's not to spend our lives being anxious about these things and avoiding. It's to actually live our lives, experience the hardships, and grow from them, or strengthen ourselves.
Mm.
And is it easy? No, it's not easy, but I think that that's a good way to live. Now, getting back to, just because I have an experience, why is it that I assume or would assume you would have the same experience? And if you don't have the same experience, what's wrong with you? Or why would I assume my child would have the same experience? Like, that's just suggestive, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. And as life goes on, I try to look at things through somebody's eyes. They always say, you're not walking in their shoes. How could you ever know? But I try to empathize and feel what somebody may be feeling, but you'll never know. I'll never know
No.
somebody else, what they're
No.
dealing with.
But if we listen to them and plug into them and have the capacity to say, wow, your experience is individual for you, and I can only imagine,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
Rather than saying, well, I never felt that way, so I don't know what your problem is. I mean, that's really what society's messages are,
Yeah, unfortunately, it is that way. And then, right back to lumping people into certain categories, putting labels on them. All women are crazy, all of that.
Yeah,
No.
it's ridiculous.
They-
Like
And
you have to have the capacity to be able to say, okay, yeah, I can hear this through,
even
right?
when it comes to kids, I've said this many times to mine. I, I will I can only share my experience. Most times they don't want to hear it, but I feel it's my job because I lived a life and this is what happens in life. At least this is what I've experienced. But I always say, disclaimer, I'll never know how you feel. I'll never be able to be you. However, I want to share it. I feel we learn so much from our stories. We have so many different stories. I love hearing them. I don't love hearing people's pain and challenges, but I like picking up on learning from them, how they piloted through, how it went for them. Call it an addiction. I like hearing what people go through and how even good things, good and bad, doesn't even matter because I think it's all about a learning experience.
Yeah, so before we impose on our child, uh-oh, it's the first day of practice or the first day of school or the first day of this or that, whatever it is. Maybe it's not a first day, maybe it's some other experience with friends.
Sure.
Instead of imposing what we may have gone through, what has developed in our lens, we might take time. I think what you're describing about listening to other people's stories and listen to what are you thinking about this? How are you thinking about this? No, I'm looking forward to it. Like I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just open minded to it. Or I'm a little nervous. Oh, yeah. And either way is natural, whatever it is. I mean, there might be 5,000 different options that we might hear if we're a good listener, but we don't have to give advice. We don't have to we just have to maybe go back to one of our other podcasts and say, how are you thinking of handling it? I'm just going to go in with an open mind. Okay, sounds good. Well, I'm a little guarded. I'm going to be cautious. Sounds good. I had a friend whose husband used to say that, like, sounds good to me. And she would talk with me, over coffee. And she would say, if only I could be like him and just say, sounds good to me. Like, let me know how it works out, you know. But we can't assume just because of our experience, everybody's going to feel the same way about it. I just feel like that's so
Mm,
simplistic
yep.
and so detrimental. You know, I just don't
A
get
hundred
it.
percent.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, do you feel that we all should not give advice? You said that
Yeah.
before. And in that men's group I'm in, we have a thing where we do not give advice. And if in a meeting, one of the men starts saying, well, I really think we cut him off. Hey,
Woo!
no advice, no advice. Do you think we
Yeah,
should pilot by that?
of course. I
Mm,
mean, it's different if somebody, I had a colleague who was just such a skilled young therapist. He went to a great school in Springfield, Mass,
mhm.
for social work, and they have a beautiful clinical. He was ahead of the game because he went there, had great clinical experience. And one day he came in and we had a great relationship. He said, Susie, every time I make chocolate chip cookies, because he knows I'm a chef, and this is like 20 years ago. Every time I make chip cookies, da 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 da. So I said, this is what I do. And I just described what I do. When I see this light golden ring, I
Mm,
put the timer on for the minimum. And
mm.
if there's the golden ring, just a light golden, I pull and the residual heat from the pan finishes. So it's a little crispy at the edge, but definitely chewy on the inside. And so I just said, this is what I do because he said, this is my problem. I didn't say, you know what you should do? And so, every time he baked cookies, he said, I did it again. I did it again. And it wasn't because I said, oh, this is the right way to do it, or let me tell you how to do it. I just said, this is how I do it.
And it's
That's the
beautiful.
difference.
And what did you just do? You told a story. I heard your story, and I'm not a chef. I don't cook. I made a salad this morning. It was work. It was work. That's
Oh,
worked for me.
sorry.
But I'm inspired even, maybe over the winter when it gets colder out. I might even try making some cookies based on what you just said in your story, because I felt that passion just the way you described how it's just touching golden on the outside, definitely chewy on the inside. You just take it from the story. Now you could have said, "Hey, you might want to try this. Put it at 325 for, blah 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 blah." I think we should only give advice when asked, or if we ask that person, "Can I offer some advice in your cookies?" and let them answer. Otherwise, don't
The
volunteer it.
bottom line is, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but the bottom line is nobody likes to be told what to do. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just common sense.
yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're 2 years old or 4 years old or 40 years old or 84 years old or 94 years old. Nobody likes being told what to do. It's demeaning. It has this thing. It's a difference with a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old or a 14-year-old or a 44-year-old or a 94-year-old to to listen to, plug into what they are expressing
Mm,
than just automatically jumping in and telling people what to do. It's just a turn off.
it is.
Sends a message like you're an ingrate and you don't know what you're doing.
Right,
I
right.
don't like
And
it at
guess what?
all.
He could make fantastic cookies. He just does it differently. Doesn't mean the way you're making them is the right way.
Well, here we are where we started is, it's funny to me if somebody were to say you do it wrong because you don't do it the way I do it, right? Because you're back to where
Mm,
we started. It doesn't mean anybody is doing anything. It doesn't mean like we were talking about social media like a month or so ago and why people want to be like everybody else and the effect of social media, right? And and the bottom line is there's also the point is everybody also has their own taste, hopefully. And just because I prefer something or enjoy something or like something, whether it's a style or the taste of something, doesn't mean it's wrong that somebody else doesn't like that. And I think most people, again, getting back to this overly simplistic, most people, if they like something and somebody else doesn't like it, they think they're wrong.
right.
That other person is wrong, or they might be so insecure they think they are wrong themselves, and it's just it's just off. It doesn't make sense,
It
right?
doesn't make sense. Yeah. And again, you're
Yeah.
shoving things down somebody's throat. But I appreciate your cookie story, and you tell it with passion, and it's picturesque. I see it. I feel it. Now, I
But I
may
said
make
this is what I do.
right, right. And there's nothing wrong with that. Listen, I've been doing audio, working in audio for many decades. And I edit stuff. I record a radio show. The log is right over there every single day. The program I recorded on is 20 years old. Not even kidding. And I'll talk to colleagues. Well, why don't you use the latest and greatest? I have the latest and the greatest. I'm a geek. I don't need that. It's quick. It's simple. It doesn't bog down your computer. When I press a button, I like it to because it's not loaded up. And the new latest and greatest is just a reincarnation of the one I'm using anyway. I don't
Yeah.
need it.
Right.
It's all
But
good.
doesn't mean you're doing it wrong.
No, no. I just prefer it. I just
And
quick and simple.
and also you play whatever your taste or whatever your audience's taste of music is, doesn't mean what's wrong with you that you don't play, you know, whatever we might
Sure.
out of our hat. It just doesn't mean that there's something wrong with that. It means, you like that genre. I like all music. I don't like this type of music, whatever it is. It's like live and let live. How about that?
And
Let
I'll
that,
listen to anything live, but I do have friends and one very close one, and we do things together. But when I say, hey, I got tickets to the show, no, I don't want to go. And in my mind, I'm like, but it's live music. Why not? It's a night out. It's free. Why not? But that's her choice. And I don't judge. It's like, I'll grab somebody else to go. I'll call Susie. We'll go.
I'll go.
How do we find you? How do you know if You offer so much insight and help people pilot their lives and make awesome cookies. How do we find you?
My website, there's a contact request. It's my name, Susan Engel hyphen LCSW. And the key is spell it properly because a lot of people spell my last name wrong.
E-N.
E-N-E-L. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's Susan.
Oh,
We call you Susie, but it's Susan.
yeah, because everybody calls me Susie, but it's Susan Engel hyphen LCSW.com.
Thank you for today. We
Yeah.
started with experiences. We went to baking cookies. There you go.
That's an experience.
It all works. Thank you. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.